leans over and says, what if we followed these speakers and told their real life story and what is a podcast? And I was the filmmaker. So he's like, why don't we make a movie? Oh, I like this too. Yeah.
The way I'm doing this is very different. It's not like it was before. I don't know how I'm going to intro these yet. But
he's going right in.
And the way that I'll say like this, the way I came into this industry years ago, I'm kind of doing it in the same way, which is kind of my own way, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's what made you cool, man.
You can still be cool. You don't have to used to be cool. I mean, you used to be cool, but you can still be cool if you want, Chris.
In my own head, I am
a
the
legend,
coolest.
yeah.
We've known each other for an extremely long time when you actually think about it. But
So-
we haven't talked to each other in a very long
So
time.
fill me in, though, because I don't know how you guys know each other.
I'll say up to my point, okay?
Yeah.
The two biggest things that stick out to me. One was that podcast movement. I spoke on a panel.
Okay.
I spoke in like 2 or 3 different things, but one in particular was a panel with 3 other individuals that I remember. Ross.
Yep.
Christina Cantors.
Wow.
The other guy, James, I can't remember James. James, he had a very nice jacket on that day. And I was very...
Did you just call him James? He had a very nice jacket on that day,
I
James?
can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his name
Oh,
too.
okay.
He's dressed very well, like a blazer type look.
Gotcha.
And to be very honest, like I showed up in a way that was very defensive. When I say defensive, defensive is the wrong word. It was walls guarded. I didn't know anybody there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was very aggressive. I'm still myself. I was very aggressive, very different. Everyone's speaking and doing their speaking stuff, which is very different now. But back then, you dressed up, present. You know what I mean? I wore a hat. I wore jeans. I wore Vans, I think. And I was just myself. And we had an amazing thing. And at the end of it, Niel stands up and was like, here's the thing. It's been so many years. I just remember the feeling I got. But I just remember you just like laying down the hammer for everybody on top of it at the end of it.
On
and
who
you're
you
like,
were.
Exactly. You're like, if you motherfuckers don't know who this is, how fucking dare you? This man was the only one. And to be honest, it made me feel like I was doing something more than just talking shit in the closet. Because at the time I was recording out of the closet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can go off and trail on that story. And the other thing was, and we didn't even talk about this, and we will on the show, but the movie you guys did that you put on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of interactions. We've met, talks, all that other stuff. But the other big impactful moment, as far as you go, was I'm sitting in my house on Armacost on Amazon, ordering a freaking podcast movie. What? In 2016, by the way? It was 2016, right?
Yeah, 2016, 2017, right?
Yeah, right around there. So I just remember because of the house I was in.
So that's one of my favorite things about Chris and his children. They identify the time period in their life by a street address. He's like, Armacost era.
Yeah.
Like,
or the OG house. We'll say that a lot.
Well, I would love
no clue.
To kind of give a little context to a little bit right before that day of your meetup, because I think it's important that people know why we're here again. Is that basically at that time, 2014 I was the producer for the mayor of Orlando for many years. I was the head producer for the city of Orlando, doing video, and I decided to move to Tampa. I knew not a soul in the world, and Chris Cerrone says, we need to do podcasting. Katie Cerrone had introduced me to podcasting. And funny, I started a podcast called All Things Post about video editing and film editing.
Yes, I remember.
And then what happened was that I knew not a thing. And being a professional video guy, I didn't want to come off like just another guy trying to get some land grab in the world of podcasting.
Sure.
I, from day one, wanted to be like connected to whoever was really the kind of a trailblazer. And I remember the homework. I hadn't even bought my podcast movement ticket yet. It was just like, don't copy other people. Go find your own voice. So I started listening to people just to see what is a podcast. And I ran across Chris's show and I freaking loved it. I don't know if we can curse on here, but I really love the show. All right. So I fucking love the show. And I didn't just like it a little bit, like I really liked it and everything. I could really relate to everything he was saying and sort of his sort of humble roots beginnings. Well, anyway, as I started getting more and more and I got my ticket and now I'm going to my first conference, I had just had my child.
I think for people who are not in your bubble.
Yeah. Like
what is what is like to you? What is
At the
podcast
time,
movement?
Podcast Movement was the only massive podcast conference there was. There was
And
nobody
It was
bigger
in
than
Dallas.
Sure.
First
So
one was
when
in
you
Dallas, right?
when you go to those things, do you just listen to people speak? Do you
Yeah,
do
it's a
classes?
conference like every
Like
yeah. It's a conference like every conference. You just walk around, talk in the hallways, and meet your favorite.
Network.
But it was so new. Podcasting wasn't totally new, but it was getting to where like the stars were starting to rise, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where you would go to be like, I hope I get to meet X podcaster, right? Like you would do at a Comic-Con nowadays.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I
Exactly.
get there. I don't got a
Perfect.
dime to my name. I flew my daughter, who was not even a year old, with my wife there. And all I wanted to do,
remember.
I heard that Chris Cerrone's going to be on a panel. So I was like, yo, I want to go to this panel. And then when we were in there, he was speaking, and I could kind of tell there was a different attitude between him and the other sort of speakers.
Oh,
It was
God, yeah.
not like a tension, but it wasn't really bad, but they kind of saw him as cocky Hollywood podcaster, right? Like he was
We've
sort
met
of the West Coast
I get it.
Customs.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
He's
was
the West Coast Customs of podcasts.
Yes. Oh, my
Well,
God.
he was. He was kind of
Thanks.
groundbreaking.
Chris
in his
pit my ride. Chris pit my
he was
podcast.
his whole demeanor, his marketing style, everything was kind of a different, like he just said again, breaking the rules. Anyway, long
Yeah.
story short, when he's done, I could kind of feel that little bit of,
I was like, honestly, I was like, fuck everybody in this fucking
Yeah.
building. That's how I felt, honestly. if
I
can be
just
honest.
asked if I raised my hand, and Chris was like, yeah, what do you want to say? And I basically just wanted them to know that when I was nobody and no one knew who I was and no one cared, he answered all my questions. He helped me get up on my feet, and he agreed to be on my show that not a soul on earth knew. And I just
Yeah.
wanted people to know that at that time in podcasting, no one was doing that, and that garnered merit. And after that, we just kind of like, we interacted a few more times. And then when you disappeared, I kind of figured it was something personal and I let it go. So I was super excited recently, man, to see you kind of pop back in the Instagram and say hello. And I'm so happy to be
Of
here.
course.
So we've talked about this on the show before. This kind of goes back to like the footprint you leave is how you make people feel, not
Absolutely.
necessarily what you did, but like people don't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And I think at least what I see of Chris, he's super is invested in the idea that like he's leaving a mark in his own way, and that way is usually to invest in other people, and I think it's super dope and I super respect it.
Oh,
There's
for
just-
sure. And it's an unselfishness as a podcaster. Now, mind you, today it's different. It's been 7 years since I started.
Sure.
Actually, no, we're now on 8 almost. But when we started, he was kind of, to me, like the coolest of the guys who were really getting the land grab, right? There was the John
Yeah.
Lee Dumas, but he had the whole system built. And there was somebody else, and they had a system built. What I liked about Chris is there wasn't a funnel. There wasn't a buy
Yeah.
my this, buy my that. And that really attracted me. And even if he had it, it wasn't about that. It was, and just the show itself, it was just genuine. It was honest. And it was like, wow, this is the kind of podcaster I hope to be one day when I grow up. So that's kind of how I entered the Cerrone world, right? And then the film was born because when we got back from that conference, we created Podfest over here in Tampa.
Okay.
Eight
Yeah,
whole-
I want to hear about that. Like,
Before we hear
Yeah.
about Podfest, though, can we
Yeah.
hear about the documentary, the movie?
Well, it came from Podfest. So in the right order, Chris
Cool.
Cerrone creates the conference Podfest, all inspired by podcast movement.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was the first or the second one that we had all these amazing speakers, and he leans over and says, what if we followed these speakers and told their real life story and answer the question once and for all, what is a podcast? And I was the filmmaker. So he's like, why don't we make a movie? So we
Wow.
traveled the country from Guatemala to get the most impoverished podcasting to John Lee Dumas's $1 Million Mansion in Puerto Rico, and we wanted to answer the question on all sides: what is a podcast? And so we created that, and it made it to distribution in Amazon. It was on for like 2 years, and it really catapulted everyone in it and everyone that made it to become, I don't know, leaders in the podcast world. Like I became a coach from there and moved on many years later to coach major brands. But when I started, it was Chris Cerrone saying, hi, I'm not going to ignore you, kid, whoever you are. So yeah, man, listen, thanks to you. I have enjoyed a great 8-year run. I've had 2 podcasts. I closed All Things Post. A year later, it gets Best Production Podcast when it had already been shut down. And then I started a new one called View from Within, which is a coaching and sort of positive mindset podcast that I do now
Awesome.
with my childhood friend, Don Jacks. And then
Is that the one you
did
sent
the
me
movie.
today? You texted me today?
Yeah, it just happened to be today's episode.
I started to
and-
listen to it. Yeah.
And then I did the movie, and then since then, like I said, I still have Wildstyle Media, the media firm. We still do film and TV, but I've moved on to do a lot of coaching and how to podcast and how to use social media or YouTube for major brands and how they can incorporate it, because they get too big and they forget how to have a general human touch. So I've kind of worked on
I
that
love
a lot.
that.
Yeah,
I
it's kind of
love
where we
that.
are. Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin again, because you glossed over so many different things.
It's been a while.
No, it really has.
I have lots of questions.
Go ahead,
I
go ahead.
always
Yeah,
have
yeah.
lots of questions.
Yeah.
I think
Jump
coming
around.
soon, people are going to start hating this question. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? That has nothing to do with podcasting. Nothing.
Ooh.
But I ask a lot of people that.
100 horse-sized.
Thank you. And if
Yeah.
someone tells you one horse-sized duck, something's wrong with them.
Well, first of all, that horse-sized duck's gonna fuck you up.
Oh, God.
I get people that are like,
So-
I'm going to give it a hug. I'm like, no, you're
100
not. It's
little
going
guys
to
that can
murder
swap
you.
you. You know, but yeah.
That actually says a lot, his answer.
Yeah.
Well, no. Here's
Quick.
why. I'll tell you real fast. So we asked that, or she asked that to everybody.
Oh, okay.
And the
Anyone who will
answers-
listen to me.
Depending on what they do or what they've accomplished, I've noticed, or we've noticed, they fall into, what bucket they choose, right?
Interesting.
The more, and this is rounded out, this gets evolved with each time I say this, but the more complex thinkers, chess players,
Yeah.
so to
I
speak,
feel like
pick the
the
100
more
duck-
analytical
That's it.
you are, the
It's-
more sort of,
duck-sized horses, not the big one.
no, nobody.
Or yeah, I kind of see it like if you're new and you're in that, I'm undefeatable and I'm, nothing can destroy me and I'm excited and cocky. You're wanting to fight the one horse. I think as you get experience, you start to realize, the power you yield, and then
Yeah.
you divide and pick your battles a little bit better. But I mean, at
Sure.
the end of the day, listen, so much has changed, dude, since the days that we kind of all started podcasting, and the world is so different.
And
now.
that's what I want to talk about. And you've covered a lot, but there's I don't know why I always use the Goonies analogy where he's pulling the booby trap in the thing, but there's a constant thread to everything you did. Like,
Sure.
you were essentially tasked to go figure out podcasting, right?
Yeah. With no
Which led
information.
you to Dallas, Texas,
Yes.
which led you to team up with them to do Podfest, which is in
Yes.
Florida. To me, Podfest, and I'm a West Coast person, that's always like the East Coast
Yeah.
thing to do. Like, that's it. It's the biggest, but it's East Coast, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now it's the biggest, and
You didn't
also
invite me.
online they got the Guinness record for being the most.
You didn't invite me.
I didn't get to go. I've never even been to this thing. But
I'm just saying, if
From-
you invited
It's
me, Chris,
way less
I
corporate
would
and
go.
a lot more family.
is that what it is? And it's
Yeah,
still
it's
going.
I like
a lot
that.
more podcasters and a little less like we're a big conference. I mean, you always got to have the NAB or the big industry one. That's become podcast movement, right? Like all the companies
Yeah.
send their employees there, and it's a big deal, and you must go. Podfest is a little bit more Chris Cerrone. It's more like I'm a podcaster. I just want to hang with other podcasters.
Oh, I
and
love that.
if there's noobs, I'll teach everyone everything I know, but I'm really just here to hang out with my boy Niel, and we're gonna have a great time. I just DJ'd this one for the first time ever, and I was looking at a sea of people, and I remember when it was only 8 of us at a hotel Ramada in 2014, 2016, when the movie came out.
So
That's really cool.
Now let me ask you this: nothing in particular as to what you've done, but just who you are as a person.
Sure.
What's something that you realize now that you didn't think you would realize about yourself when you first started on this journey? When you were that dude in Dallas, Texas, laying down the law for everybody, which was dope. Now looking back, right? Like, what's something that you now know about yourself that you didn't realize you would discover? Because you put yourself through some shit. Like I said, I may have disappeared, but I've been watching from the outside. Like, you guys put in some fucking work.
Yeah, man. Listen, that day I was just like, oh my God, Chris Cerrone, the guy that I in my little head see as so big is on that stage. And he just told me I can answer a question. And now years later, I'm like, I had Chris Cerrone in me all the time. Like I'm that guy now. I
Yep.
go on stages, I coach people, I speak, I'm on panels, and I remember that day I felt tiny and I felt very invisible. And I'm one of a million wannabe podcasters. And here's this
Sure.
guy that I follow. So it really, when I look back and I'm at Podfest and I'm walking around and I hear people tell me you're Podfest famous because you can't go 3 feet without somebody asking you about the messengers,
Yeah.
or that film is the reason I podcast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just really
It's tricky,
reminded me
right?
of that day, of what you were feeling that day, because now I feel like I've reached where you were at that time. That's why I think it's so damn cool that we're talking, because it's such a right perspective is everything.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
now I'm talking to Chris Cerrone from Two Mountaintops versus back then. I literally felt like I'm just glad the dude even recognized me in the crowd to say, hey, you can answer your question. Where now you're talking from the level he was at that day. So it's a different
As
perspective.
peers.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, we've done a lot. I feel like that movie really kind of like answered the question for a million people. And it's nothing more humbling than not just Podfest. When I go to any conference for podcasting, or even just media conferences, and I hear people say, "You don't know me, but I've seen the messengers," or that's a cult film now in the
Yeah.
podcast world, and it just humbles me because I remember making that with no money, just wishing someone would see it.
That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, we bootstrapped the hell out of that
Did you
movie, and it was
really?
the passion. We raised a little bit. We raised about 25K,
Yeah.
but we put in about 15 more K, and then I did like 14 flights around the country, and my father-in-law passed away the day we premiered it. So there was just a lot happening with that movie. I had, like I said, I had just had a baby, man. Like
Yeah.
I was still a noob in podcasting my damn self, trying to answer for the world. But the filmmaker in me, that's from 1990. So I didn't have to learn that part, right? I just wanted to tell a story, and it's cool to see it. I saw it on YouTube the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, it still works. Like it still answers the question, but now the technology is just so much different, and
So
everything's
Mm-hmm.
changed.
that's kind of where I'm at now, honestly, with this whole podcast and all this other stuff. Like, I technically have been out of podcasting for a long time, and I haven't looked at myself as a podcaster in probably since back in that era, honestly.
Yeah, 5, 6 years for
Where,
sure.
where my skills and strengths came in was always behind the scenes, but really in YouTube, in video. And in
Sure.
fact, it's telling this story. It's not even YouTube. It's
So-
being able to tell a story.
Yeah, and I think that's what's super interesting. Somebody pointed it out to me the other day. Someone, of course, super random, when we were talking about like how I got into the show with you, and like how we live in such different worlds and we're so far apart, but like the show is so much fun and people enjoy listening so much. And it comes down to, you do the exact same thing I do. I just do it in a courtroom. I just tell a story in a courtroom.
that's it.
You tell a story
Absolutely.
on mic.
But
And
that's the power
it's-
of podcasting.
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure.
And the more I've been in it, and now that I coach it, I value even more the uniqueness of the show that is a bit random and wants to break some of the the rules in podcasting.
Yeah.
Because what made me be attracted to podcasting, I mean, I had a media company. I could have easily gone on radio. I said I worked for the mayor for 13 years. It wasn't like I
I was
couldn't
going to
just go
say,
to
you were like a
station.
big legit thing already.
I want to know what that was like.
It was cool. I started in homicide video. Shout out to OPD, Orlando Police Department. And my original first years was recording, bodies after horrific crimes. And one day we were shot at.
There
on a
you go.
scene. Yeah, we were shot at on a scene, and it shook me up because we were trying to have our baby at the time. And I got transferred to the mayor's office, where overnight I'm just dedicating streets and doing really, ivory
Boring
tower
stuff.
type things. Yeah.
Sure.
But over that time, what really grew me as a producer was when the Orlando Magic or the Orlando City Soccer,
Mhm.
those major brands that we had to brand to bring them to the city of Orlando.
Yeah.
That's where I learned the game of the marketing and the
Sure.
ingenuity. That's what attracted me to Chris's show. So when I got to Tampa, I could have stayed there, been there for 30 years, and just started my business and had here, Neil, you know everybody in this city. But I chose to go to Tampa where I knew nobody.
Why did you
And
choose that?
Because when you're in a area where you are kind of the top in what you do,
Sure.
you're not growing anymore. Everybody is either just admiring who you are, how you got there, but they don't see you as anything but what you achieved. And I wanted
Sure.
to kind of be seen more as a businessman and not just a videographer and not just a
I get that.
producer. So I did 30 years of that. So I wanted to be seen as, you know, a young businessman, CEO of my own brand. And podcasting it wasn't even a speck of dust for anybody. So I saw an opportunity to lead in something using my 30 years of video and audio skills. So when I started podcasting, I was going in hard. I wasn't trying to be a podcaster. I was trying to become
The
a
podcaster.
I wanted to be at the level of the guys I admired, right? So,
Cool.
and now it's been 8 years. You know, we still have the Florida podcast, you know, little tiny group. We meet once a month, and then we have massive Podfest once a year. We do virtual Podfest, and these are all owned by Chris. I'm just a founding member. I just help him out. And then, of course, through my own company, you know, we edit, shoot, produce, whatever,
Sure.
podcast, video podcast. So I am just swimming in it all the time. So
you said a couple things that like click for me. I think Chris indicated that. How does one get into homicide videography?
Newspaper. I basically saw an ad saying the police department is hiring. At the time, Cops was the biggest show in the world.
Sure.
And
I love when my clients are on Cops because they have to give me that footage. They have to give me the raw stuff.
And the O.J. Simpson trial had kind of taught the world
Sure.
that they should have recorded video before they stomped all over the scene. So
Oh yeah.
when I got hired, that was the running joke, was that, you know, you're going to record before it's all documented and then right after again, so they can show in court
Sure.
that nothing was moved around.
Yeah,
And
most
then,
places don't do that.
It was unique. It was
FYI.
just yeah, just
I
being
don't get
part
that.
of. I love being part of the
Nice.
solution and hearing the, you know,
Sure.
hearing moms cry on scenes and then knowing that something I'm doing is going to help catch the guy that just did this to your daughter or whatever. But 7 years of that was a lot, you know. I mean,
Sure, it's heavy.
I saw the worst of people.
Sure.
So when
That's
I
why
got to the
I don't
mayor's
understand
office,
why how she does what she does, because
So-
just seeing that daily.
So-
Takes a
I don't
special
think Neil
breed to
knows
do
what I-
we did.
I don't think Neil knows what I do. So I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I handle Category A felonies. So
Oh, yeah.
anything punishable by life in prison, mainly homicides, sex assaults. That's
Nasty
kind
shit.
of my bread and butter. So what Neil's saying about, you know, seeing the worst in people, like, there is that for sure. But hello. I love when Chris fixes the mic in the middle of my sentences. So part of why I love what I do, and I know that you and I have talked about this, is I get to see also the best in people
Of
who have
course.
had their worst moments, you know?
Yeah.
And I like a challenge. I like
Well, and I got to see the best side of detectives. I got to see
Sure.
you know, we defund the police world, but I got to be with them when they're crying over a kid they don't even know.
Sure.
Or
and-
when they're risking their life just to go into the neighborhood where your buddy just got killed. Like, it's like, you know, I
Yeah.
actually had the camera. We would jump out. I can say this now because it's been so many years. You know, I was in the jump out van. So like literally whoever did the horrific act is still floating around. And here we are
Sure.
jumping out, you know, to go find this person in the dark.
Sure.
Like one,
Yeah.
one of these.
Yeah, so there was a level. It was, you know, it was an honor in that. And then and then working for the mayor's office was the honor of serving a community in a city and
Sure.
helping it grow. So now I'm in Tampa. It's a whole different planet over here. And you know, travel the country with our production company to do media work. So I get to see a little bit of all everywhere. But listen, communication is communication, whether it's podcasting, video, just talking in person. We
Sure.
all just want to be heard, man. And that's
it's
what I
all
love about
sharing, and it's all storytelling, and it's all something that
Yeah.
brings people together.
for sure. And that's what I'm passionate about. And in my company, I try to be the guy that can help people get that voice. The whole point of the messenger is the last graphic says, find your voice, you know, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter the platform you choose to express it on, but just, you got to find it. And back in 2014, that's kind of what Cerrone show was for me, right? I was like, yo, I want to at least feel how I want someone to feel what I'm feeling listening to this guy talk. And when they listen to me, I don't want them to hear bullshit. I want them to be like, yo, that guy's real. And he's going through a lot, you know,
Yeah.
delivers the ball basically. And so that's what I've tried to do over 8 years. And I'm just excited that I'm still even relevant in this space. Because
Very
it is-
relevant, by
it
the
is-
way.
It is flooded, man. It is a flooded space now. Thank you for that. And it's funny, I'm thinking the same about you. So it's like we're in a mutual space, but not everybody knows how it started. And I think the ones that started it really have a unique angle still to this day, because
Yeah.
there's a gratitude for the microphone, and there's a gratitude for what this power of this thing is.
Sure.
I think a lot of new podcasters, they just want to podcast because it's part of their marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Tool that we need to be on, just like TikTok. So I've never gone on TikTok,
It's
right?
another tool I'm not. I was gonna say I've never been
Yeah.
on TikTok.
Yeah, I
I
use the
am
tool that you feel
Too
best
old
at.
for TikTok. I've
You know.
decided.
It's
Yeah.
well, not to make this like a marketing podcast, but and you've been around long enough. It's no different than everything that came out before it, whether it's Meerkat or Periscope
French,
or
Chinese.
all these. Yeah, they're all just these little apps that
No
came out
clue.
that eventually
Blab.
Yeah, Blab. That's another one. When TikTok came out, I didn't download TikTok till a couple months ago. Even though everyone's like, "Oh, you need to figure it out," I'm like, "No, I don't. I've seen enough. I know what it is. It's the same thing, just different skin on it. Yeah, I got to play with an algorithm maybe a little bit, but it's the same shit." So I'm kind of feeling. Actually, let me ask you this: I'm kind of feeling that way about doing this again, YouTube, podcasting, all that. Am I kind of an asshole for thinking I can do the same thing as I did back in the day, which is come in and do it my way? Like
Those are two separate questions, Chris.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't been completely gone. I mean, I've been publicly gone, but I've just been more behind the scenes, whether it's been producing stuff or creating stuff. Like we created a podcast that I don't know if you know this. I created a show that ended up getting picked up as a news thing on it's NBC, ABC, whatever. That ended up getting the laws changed in California that solved a cold case because it was a true crime podcast that solved a cold case from the 90s that was on Unsolved
I've
Mysteries.
listened to this, correct?
Yeah, the knock knock. Yeah,
That's a win.
Yeah, it's a big win.
And
That's
like,
a reason to do a podcast.
and like
Something cool, yeah.
Yeah, and then like after that, we created a movie trailer just for it. But the point being is, I'm approaching it the same damn way without. I'm not paying attention to anybody or anything. I'm just gonna do me.
My answer to you is this: when you're in the ocean, you want to see the shark fin. I tell people this: you want to see it because when you no longer see the fin, the shark has gone deep down, and the next time you see him, it's mouth open, getting your legs. Right? He's coming up.
Yeah.
And that's how I see Cerrone. I see he was dominant. He was in a space. The space got kind of whack, got weird. He went underwater.
Yeah.
He has a whole world under the ocean that I'm not seeing because I'm just treading water going, where's the shark? Where's the shark? Where's the shark? Yeah. And now if you're looking to like just re-energize people with another show, a podcast, regardless of the platform, that's just a shark just coming right back up. He was never dead or gone, right? And I don't think you're an asshole for doing it. I think you're an asshole for not doing it sooner.
Thank you for saying that.
Check you out.
That was amazing. I'm genuinely asking that because and I'll just say while we're recording, like on top of the show, there's a lot of other shit I'm just figuring out right now.
For sure, man.
You know what I mean? I'm just in a space where, let me start over. Unlike before when we're all just figuring it out, whatever, now it's like, okay, I already know. It's a matter of like, what do I do? And where do I best put my efforts? Because I don't want to be, and you know this, the assholes that were at that original conference walking around like they're freaking high society, treating everybody like shit.
Yeah, you'll get checked real quick, bro.
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't think it's in you or me to be that guy. I think our very nature is that we just don't know how to be that guy, right? Yeah. And I just talked about this on another podcast. Oh, maybe it was my podcast where I said, a Jedi's a Jedi. Like a Jedi never has to act like everybody else.
Yeah.
And when they get around another Jedi, right, there's a certain level of respect because we both know the power we wield, right? But we don't have to go, and I just said this on my show, we don't have to go and kill Darth Vader to prove we're a Jedi to another Jedi. The only person you prove that to is everybody else who's questioning your power. So you have to go and dominate something else to show it off, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, what I'm trying to say is you're already a Jedi, dude. You started this way early. Yeah. The fact that you did an Obi-Wan and decided to live in a cave for a while and do other stuff is it's all your right. And I'm more excited about the comeback being greater than the setback. I'm more excited about what is he about to disrupt in podcasting that I could brag about and say, I got on that show before he disrupted it so badly. And that's my guy. And let me get him at Podfest because someone needs to hear this again. So my biggest thing is just, what are you going to do with it now? Because I don't think you need to prove anything. Hit record and go.
That's
who knew you was going to follow you again, who didn't know you was going to wish they had.
Yeah.
And
Great.
that's coming from an honest, we haven't talked in years. So it's not like,
Correct.
hey, before the show, hey, he told me to market him or anything. No, I'm talking like so excited when I saw you follow me on, dude, I'm telling you, I was like,
I
oh,
appreciate you saying that.
and it excited me to just see your face and connect with you again, even though we hadn't talked in God knows, 5 years. And the reason I was so anxious to get on the show had nothing to do about marketing what I'm doing or promoting things I've done. I'm grateful for that. But really, it was like, welcome the guy back, man. Like, you got to give honor when the prodigal son decides to show up.
We should
gotta
have this
show
guy
up.
on more often.
Yeah, I got to
This is
show up at the
great.
gate. I got to show up at the gate and be like, dude,
I
this is
swear I
the guy
didn't
that
do this on purpose. I promise. I
No,
didn't do
but
this
you're
on
the guy that opened the gate.
No, I like this.
I can't act like I'm anywhere where I'm standing because the guy never answered if you never answered my first original text, email, whatever it was, I wouldn't be here. I would have got discouraged and I would have quit. So that day that
maybe to
person
you,
says, "Hey, no?"
maybe to you, and I'll just say this: all I did was open a door. You're the one who walked through it.
Oh, for sure.
You
But
made the
door
choice to
not
walk through
open. You can't walk through it.
That's true.
Yeah, and I still try and do the same. I'm still that same person because, and I'm actually kind of glad we're having this conversation because, two things. One, it's that next generation that's coming up that you see,
Yes.
right? It's us back in the day, right?
For
Sure.
You see it.
Yeah.
And two,
I listen to some crappy true crime podcasts, everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Just real bad.
and two, that attitude I have that I've always had. Now that we're talking, I have it even more now because it is harder, and a lot more people are shystering each other and
Yeah.
screwing each other over or teaching shit that they probably shouldn't be teaching, and you're gonna have that anywhere. But there is a lot of people I've noticed that, particularly doing anything online, that do have it, that can do some gangster ass shit,
Yeah, for sure.
that may not have someone in their life to just answer anything, and then they may say, fuck this, I'm out. And the thing that
Absolutely.
scares me about that is it's a lot easier to say, fuck this, I'm out now in today's world than it
Oh,
was
for sure.
when back in the
Oh,
day.
yeah, for sure.
Right?
For
It's
sure, man.
I think that, and this is just my personal opinion, it almost feels like a disposable industry. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
treated as if it's disposable. Like, everyone's, my dog included, full disclosure, everyone's dog has an Instagram. Everyone's dog has a TikTok. Everyone's mom's got a podcast. Like, it just feels so disposable. And when people treat it like it's disposable, I mean, the product is disposable.
But yet you still have a Peter McKinnon in our world of TV marketing
Yes.
that regardless of the billions of disposables, I don't miss not one post from that guy. I don't miss a video. So to me, when I look at a Chris Cerrone or now very honored to be a Niel Guillarte, I want to be that guy on the Instagram that you're ciphering through
Yeah.
700,000 people to get to us again, right?
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
someone knows he's coming back to this and in a strong way, I guarantee you that there's going to be a lot of Neils saying, "Oh my God, like the general's back on the court. Like I need to go at least be like, yo, like
Mhm.
wow, homage, right? You're back." But the other half is then when he gets back, then what?
Yeah.
So I think you can almost abandon to some small degree like what you've done up to yesterday morning,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just be like, now I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
getting the space that I used to reside in. I'm going to bring in all the expertise from when I was underwater and you couldn't see my shark fin. And now you're going to see, like, I want to change lives or if you don't, I just want to disrupt lives to wake people up. And maybe that's your,
Sure.
maybe that's your grace to podcasting is to kind of shake the tree again, because it's gotten
It's
too
blah-
formal.
all of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So YouTube and podcasting, I'm combining it in the same because this is the world I've been in. But yes, it's the same as I saw it back then. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Like I just need to start kicking some boxes over. The other
do
day
it
on
just
the,
a game, bro. Make different motorcycles, right?
exactly. The other day on the show, I haven't released it yet, but remember that day I was like, I just want to say this. My name is Chris Cerrone. I'm here to fuck you up. You remember?
You say that a lot, and I don't remember if it was on the show
It's-
or at lunch.
It's that mentality. And when I say that, when I'm here to fuck you up, it has nothing to do with like
Physical,
fuck-
right.
No, it's I'm
Take
here to
you up.
fuck you up mentally to get you to like.
It's more than that, though. We've talked about this in my world. We've talked about this in our world. We've talked about it in your world. I'm here to fuck you up in the sense of, like, I'm here to change your status quo. Like, I'm here to, you think what you're doing is 100%, let me show you 110.
Absolutely. I live by that. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, my little 8-year-old sometimes is like, Daddy, you spend so much time helping other people. But then recently, very recently, I had to close a studio that I just invested in 6 months ago. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about
and
that now?
sure,
You,
literally, because it's on Monday, I start somewhere totally
I was
new.
gonna say, because I told you I listened to the show that you sent me. So about 6 weeks ago, he built essentially this in a house.
Well, no, about 6 months ago, we converted a 2-story house. It was like a house on stilts, and it had a giant shed in the back where they used to do lawnmowers, commercial lawnmowers, and we converted it into a Hollywood style 900 square foot shooting facility. Inside was podcast bay, edit bays, and office space, right?
Yeah, it's this.
And
It's this. It's what we
yeah, okay. So what you got?
Yeah.
You
And
should
then,
come out and see our space, though, for
It's
real.
legit.
It's super cool.
I'm down. Any excuse to travel. And anyway, it was
Bring the
great. And
fam.
it was doing great. It was financially doing awesome. More money every month, everything. And then the guy I partnered with just decided that instead they wanted to take full advantage of the rental market and rent it out. So I had to basically undo everything I did. And but the way things work, and I really wanted to share this with your listeners, it has nothing to do with Niel's loss, win, anything. Just how to come back from something you didn't expect. So on one of the tours where I was touring people through the studio, I'm sure you guys do it all the time to attract business. There was this guy, a big Christian guy. He runs a video firm here in Tampa. It's like the number 2 in my eyes, one of the biggest, because there's only one bigger than him in town. And he toured it. And I was just trying to like get him to refer me business that he doesn't want because he's doing really high end stuff. So hey, send the crumbs over here, buddy. But whatever, he saw that. And then so when it closed and I called him just to rent his studio out temporarily, place to go in the meantime until I recover, he valued the 32 years in video and everything I'm doing in podcasting. And he said, before you rebuild everything again, which I know that's exactly what you're going to do, whether I talk to you or not, would you consider doing everything you're doing, but do it with me and do it here at my company? And I'll pay you handsomely. I'll make it worth your while.
Yeah.
I gave him what I dreamed of, thinking he'd never hit it. And he found a way to do it within like a 2-year plan. And so Monday, I'm really excited to go to JL Video in Tampa.
Wow.
As their head of production, but still do my coaching, still do everything that I do, be out there in the world. They are not afraid of that, which is not normal. They normally want you to shut everything down.
Yeah.
No, they just want me to do the video side of things with them, and still maintain our public figure, I guess you could say, in the world. But yeah, I'm super excited. But the lesson in this was, especially showing my daughters, like, I built what I thought was the biggest thing I've ever done. I mean, I started as I wish I could be a podcaster. Chris, would you say hi to me? To I have a facility that's serving people and doing massive jobs.
Did you say daughters?
One daughter.
Oh, I thought you said
My little
daughters.
girl, Allie, and she had to help me take all this stuff down. I had to move in like 3 weeks. No one could help me. So my little one helped me tear the studio down.
Yeah.
That she just saw Daddy build, right?
Yeah.
So the lesson in that to her was just like, hey, not everything works the way you want it, but let me show you. It's like I told you, Chris, the comeback. It's way better than the setback. And so I'm excited for the future there. They're really allowing me a lot of freedoms that I know someone else would not value, but because he's an entrepreneur himself, that's why he's amazing. Jordan Lung, if you're listening, thank you. But yeah, man, I'm excited to start there. And it's just a new chapter, but I'm still an entrepreneur. I don't know how not to be one. Yeah. So that's why I'll still do the coaching and everything on the outside. What? We just don't know how, man.
Like settle down.
The entrepreneur's entrepreneur, they say, right?
That's what it is. And I had to come to that realization that that's what I am last couple of years.
Yeah, well, you gotta accept it. You gotta accept it.
Which is weird to say because most people would be like, well, yeah, isn't that what you're trying to be? But it's like you always feel like you should be doing something else or you need to be doing something else or
building something else is what you're saying, yeah.
Well, society likes to make you feel like you need to be where they think you should be, right? And then so disruptors don't think like that. I mean, I had some people say, well, are you just taking a job because you just need to take some money? I'm like, no, I was doing fine. Matter of fact, one thing I loved about this place is they were like, I told them like, I don't need saving. I don't need you guys to swoop in and save me because I closed the studio because I can open a new studio tomorrow. Yeah. What I was just looking for was options. I felt like I've done a lot. Like Chris said, I've done the work. I've put the 10,000 hours of mastery. Should I do it again? Or is it possible that someone could value me where I'm at, has more resources, and we can get to the finish line a little quicker together? And then either stay there for a long, 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 long time, or one day I could always, once you've been an entrepreneur, you can always start again, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm just looking at some options, and I'm excited. Monday's the first day. That's why I was kind of excited to talk to you today, because I was like, wow, it's kind of my my last Friday before I'm diving
Yeah.
into
It's
really
almost
being busy at JO Video.
it's almost like this is your little video diary essay, if you will, and then like a year later you can go back and watch or listen and be like, what the
Yeah.
fuck was I fucking thinking? Or
I know, right?
you can
And
be
who
like,
better
oh,
to interview me on that day than the disruptor?
The disruptor himself.
Yeah, the main one that I first followed, right?
what is the long-term plan? I mean, you don't just
Chris, he just told you what the long-term plan
No,
is.
no, beyond
the
that.
long-term plan is to be an entrepreneur and
I
build
know.
and build and change.
I mean,
But
and-
this
you know,
man's
like
a chess player.
I talked. Oh, thank you for that, man. I how do I say this? This is what I told my wife. I am choosing to go work with Jordan. I'm not settling and going to work for him. I'm very proud and honored to join the team. And I'm hoping that all of the years of entrepreneurial that I've been able to acquire, right, the sensitivities that we have as entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
I think are different. I'm hoping to bring that to their table. Now, hey, would I love to grow in their company and reach a level where financially I'm very comfortable and still able to pursue, coaching and help others? Yes. But the long-term game plan, he is right. Like I'm taking a gamble on helping him reach his goals with his company that I think I can get him there with my expertise, but I'm going to grow too, because I'm going to learn a lot from them. And there's a young crop of producers that, I just turned 49, not that that's old, but I started at, 18. And now there's some young guys there that I'd like to learn from, and I hope to inspire, so that if and when I ever go back out to doing Wildstyle Media by myself again, God knows when that might be, if ever, I'd have that to offer the world too. So it's like I said about being a Jedi. Like, I'm just accepting that right now. I'm hanging out with Luke and the team. I don't have to be by myself fighting the Empire anymore. I'm choosing to now influence, but through his company, and I'm really excited to see how that goes.
That's awesome. So
I'm
I
not
have
just
a
taking a job.
non-podcast, non-video,
Yay.
non-marketing, totally just Niel question.
Oh, a human question.
A
These are
human question. You
rare.
ready?
This is rare.
What is the most interesting thing people don't know about you?
Wow, that's a deep question. The most interesting things that people don't know about me. Number one, most people don't know I'm from Venezuela. But the most interesting thing, wow, man, that's crazy.
It could be a couple.
I mean,
I'll give you a top three.
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, my musical thing, like people don't know that I started as a DJ. I used to manage DJ Magic Mike out of Orlando. He was at the time in the 90s, very famous. And a lot of people don't know that side of me. So like at Podfest, everyone was like, well, you're doing what? And, and I'm sitting there like DJing and rocking a party.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, people don't know Wildstyle Media came from the name DJ Wildstyle. So like most people don't know that because I buried it. I kind of really buried it when I started because no one was taking me serious because all they could see was I was a DJ. So
oh, how cute. It's the DJ.
Yeah. That's the own graffiti. Oh, he's
Yeah.
a real businessman. So now that I've accomplished what I want to accomplish, I'm starting to take a lot of bookings and gigs and doing them for fun and doing conferences and stuff. And I find it shocks people and they doubt the hell out of me until I play and they don't realize that's how I started. And
That's
it is
cool.
the ninja training that I have. And I'm very passionate about it, but I no longer have to pursue it to make money. I just do it now for the love of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, be compensated for it. But that's probably the most interesting. And most people don't know that I'm from Venezuela. They think I'm born and raised here.
So when did you come to the U.S.?
When I was 2.5 or 2-ish.
Wow.
But we went back every summer for like 13 years because my parents didn't want us to forget where we came from
Yeah.
until the government got so bad that now we can't visit at all.
Is it still like that?
Oh yeah, it's really
Like you
bad.
can't go back.
Yeah, we've never been able to go back. Matter of fact, most of my family has sold everything they own just to come here.
Is there anybody left over there, like old
Yeah,
school,
there's a significant
stubborn
part.
family members? They're like, I'm not leaving where I. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that, right? But again, so they're back to what we do as far as podcasters and all the things that we do. Chris is like, I feel a responsibility to my my daughter, for example, to show her like I am taking full advantage of the blessing that I got to come to this country, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
every time I
amazing.
get interviewed, she's like, Daddy, someone's gonna interview. Cause in her little head, I'm no one, I'm daddy. Like,
Yeah. I get
but
that.
I just want her, I want to build as high as I can go so that that's where she's gonna one day look back at the story and say, wow, grandpa brought these 6 kids here with not a dime to California. And look where we are today because of the commitment, you know, and the gratitude for everything that I've gotten from this country from the day I got here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. It's
it's
amazing.
powerful. It's a powerful story. Yeah. I
It's a
love
great
this
story. It's a great story.
Yeah, man. But look, I'm more excited that you're doing this again, man. And you have my support 100% in anything. I couldn't be happier just that you're not even back on the radar, but that you decided to like
Back in
pull
action.
Pull a Top Gun and be Maverick and like start flying by the tower again. People just don't realize that he never really left the airport, right? It was just like hang at the bar, at the bar.
Yeah, and it happened just, I think randomly. I said something to her and she's like, I'd do it, and then I was like, I mentioned it to someone else who remembers the show, and the look on their face, they're like, you should fucking do it, and then it's little by little. Just more people saying,
All right. Well, here's an interview question for you then.
Yeah.
That's like to interview people.
Yeah.
So you've then now you've had a whole show before that you did. You inspired a lot of people. You disrupted podcasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about today's podcast world that is the most or the biggest driver to get someone like you to come back on the field and say something needs to change? Because I'm glad so many people got in, but something's not right. Like what is Chris Cerrone looking to do?
I don't know if it's in podcasting
or just media, right?
Yeah, it's more because it's so much. Here's what I'm looking to do. What?
Nothing. I got an answer when you're done.
Okay. I'll speak with podcasting. It's the same shit as it was back when we started in that era. Right? It's a lot of the same shit. It's a lot of people copying everybody. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. You got a section over here that it's a land grab. Even now, I'm watching it. As big as the space is, as silly as this sounds, there's still, in my opinion, call it naive, tons of opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you and I were throwing rocks against the wall looking for sparks back in 2013, 14, 15. And in fact, before that, because I've been fucking with this since 2008, I found some shit that we posted on like Ustream and Justin.tv and
Ustream.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like
again, speaking Chinese.
Yeah, filecabby.net. Like this pre-YouTube.
I used to DJ every Thursday on Ustream TV.
Yeah, all that stuff. And it's just this wave of bland, boring people fucking off each other. It's I don't know how to describe it because I've been honestly looking at it for the last year, like literally 12 months, kind of going, okay, I kind of want to come back in, but where's my angle? Getting disgusted at this, that, and the other, taking a lot of calls. Like this is kind of slapped together ish, but it's not. You know what I mean?
It's intentional chaos.
Exactly. Well, I like that. Everything's intentional chaos. I just really want to do the same thing that I did back then, and not to go roundabout and give you this weirdo answer, but it's not the thing I'm going to do or the thing that I see so much as I have something to say, and I'm just going to start saying it whether anybody listens or not, and eventually somebody will. It's like the guy that you pull up a soapbox in the town square or whatever, and you start screaming, and then one person walks up and they stop and they just start watching.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden 2, and then 4. Like with the girl with the shampoo, they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends.
Oh, I thought
you're putting your race car back in the Daytona 500.
That is, yeah, and I think now gone through it because I may have taken my ass off the air and publicly, but I've produced, God knows, like still the Tony Hawk Foundation. Go listen to their show. At the end of every show, they thank me. Like that's all. I'm still out there. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to do me. Now I don't even know if I'm answering it. I'm just going to do me in hopes that the future Niels and the future whoever's of the world sees that and being like, okay, there's this mound of shit over here, and then there's this unknownness of whatever, and then there's this guy, right? and whatever he said, did, or did whatever. He didn't care how he looked. He didn't care how he sounded. He didn't care whatever. He made sure the content was 1,000,000,000%, and that what he was saying, kind of along the lines with you just talked about your show that I listened to, being a man of your word or something like that. Yeah. What was the show you just did?
Yeah, how to keep your word and say yes to new things. Yeah.
That's it. So I don't know if that's
so my answer for you is different. It's not totally different. Not totally different.
I just want to fuck shit up. Here's what it is, and then I will end with this because I've been saying this for years, and she can attest to this. I just want to do cool shit with my friends or people, depending who I'm talking to, and make life-changing money. That's it. Just do cool shit in that order. Cool shit with my people, right? Life-changing money. Because if I do that in that order, it will come that way. If I start with the money first, or the fame first, or the clicks, or the likes, or the downloads, I'll never fucking get it. It'll never happen.
I think, given everything you've been through in the last 2 years, and I've had a real close front row seat, I think the Cerrone show coming back is your opportunity to just be free. Like, just to, live in your space, not the podcast, just to be you, give you to anyone who wants it. And I hope when people listen to, I guess, our show and think about, what we're doing, that this is, a fearless space. You don't have to worry. I'm literally wearing Costco sweatpants.
I see it I see it like the dope bar or cantina or whatever you want to call it in that town that's just oversaturated, and then you got this one little cool bar in the corner that
only the coolest of the cool goes there.
I want to be the cool bar in the corner.
That's this building.
There you go.
The litty titty local watering hole, if you will.
Man, listen, dude, I'm excited that you're back. I'm going to be definitely paying attention. I'm even more happy that you had me even on, because that means a lot. And I think that we're in that same space. So, there's a lot of opportunity for all of us to partner up and things, and just do you, dude, because that's what got me to listen to you when I didn't even know who you were. So that hasn't changed. And just think of all the stuff we know now that you could share with others and to make impact. I mean, at the end of the day. That's
actually to start wrapping this shit up. Not that we have to let you go completely. But,
no. You do got to end the show at some point.
Eventually. We can't just live here in this chair.
What would you? I was gonna say, what advice would you give somebody starting out
on the Chris Cerrone show? I'd say, that's Chris.
Forget us. Just
my advice is ask Chris Cerrone, though, bro.
Ask Chris Cerrone. He's right there.
Because honestly, at this point, the tables have turned. I'm asking you now, what's
that's kind of humbling.
What do people do?
Listen, man, I say this to everybody, whether they're a new client that has a bunch of money or not enough money. It's same as the messengers, right? Go home, find your voice. That's step one. Do you even have one? There's a lot of people that don't have one, or they're always under somebody else that has a louder voice. So one, find your voice. Number two, then you got to identify where your voice can be heard and where it will make any impact. So what platform should I be on? Well, where do I have the most impact, right? Where do I influence people? And then the last part is do what Chris just said, be the cool bar on the street. We've got enough Costco's and enough 7-Elevens and enough McDonald's. We really need to start having places for original thought. I get really frustrated when I hear more and more regurgitation. And as a coach, I tell everybody, so next week, I want to hear your own original thought on whatever we talked about. And people struggle with that. So if you're going to do a podcast, or you're going to, even Chris coming back, right? You want to hear his original thoughts, not that he heard a podcast last week and he's kind of regurgitating that again. Or he saw something on YouTube that he's regurgitating. We've got plenty of regurgitating. And my last advice is have fun. It's too much work, too much involvement in equipment and expense to not have fun.
Yeah, when it stops being fun, I think we'll probably pull the plug.
Yeah.
Well, if you got to take a deep breath before you record your podcast, which I've had that happen. I almost pod faded a few times. I've sat down and gone okay, I got to record my show. Right? The minute you do that, you need to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you should genuinely. I was super excited to wrap my day to get on this show. It should still inspire me to want to get on here. And that's why I'm excited that you're back, man. I can't wait. I'll be listening.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me, man.